Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, before we get started, I got a question. And I was thinking about this throughout the day when I was at work. So, okay. Julian is afraid of Sonny finding out that he withheld information about his grandchild, about Brad keeping, Wiley from them. But here's the thing, though. Brad is still alive. Yeah, okay, he went to jail, but he still was the one that kidnapped Wiley for a whole year and change. So, why is Julian so worried? Why is Julian so worried about, Sonny finding out that Julian knew about Brad's plan? So what? I mean, at the very least, okay, cool, he may, break his legs? Maybe? But, I'm pretty sure if he tells Sonny the reason why, I mean, yes, Sonny has been known to be, a little bit less than receptive about certain issues, but, and granted, it's still bad, but, this wasn't out of a place of malice or anything like that, and granted, it's still terrible, but he only knew about it, he didn't orchestrate this whole thing, he just knew about it at the time. Yeah, he helped Brad, but at the very least, he knew about it. He didn't do it himself, so if Brad is still alive and kicking, what is Julian's issue? As far as, being that afraid. I was not thinking about that today. I was like, so why isn't Brad not, dead at this point? Anyway, which kind of leads me to it kind of relates to today's episode. Ava's had enough. And I mean really had enough of Julian. At one point, Ava isn't there just saying, you need to leave, you need to get out of here, yada, yada, yada. And then, of course, Julian, being the ungrateful prick that he is like, hey, remember that time that you killed Connie Falconeri? Now, I don't know the details behind that, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with Ava protecting Julian, because that's what she said. And I'm just sitting there thinking, listen, Jesus Christ, Julian. At some point, what is your, I feel like if Julian's going to go out, he should go out doing something at least somewhat decent, because these past couple of, years or whatever, his life has just been hitting the toilets. Literally, just one bad decision after the next. I was actually sitting there thinking, the day that Julian leaves, probably the day after, I should sit there and just make a list of everything that I could remember of Julian just screwing up. But I feel like that might be insensitive since, he is leaving. Anyway, she's had enough. And she goes to the hospital. She talks to Nicholas. And at this point, she doesn't know that, Lulu's case is a lot worse than what she initially heard. But after she heard that Lulu's in a coma and is possibly never going to wake up again, or for a very long time until they get a new actress, she comes back to the house, and she brings a gun. And I'm like, wow, okay, I knew you was upset with him, but damn. And at this point, I mean, let's be honest, what good is that going to do? What good is that going to do other than put him out of his misery? Let's be honest. If Ava doesn't kill him, Sonny will. Or Cyrus will. So, I mean, pick your poison. Especially now. So, Sonny, after he's sitting there talking to, Sam and Carly, He found out that it was one of Carly's bartenders that, might have leaked the information. So they go and they meet the guy outside, and well, Jason wants answers. And when Jason wants answers, Jason gets his answers. 1 second. Jason gets his answers. So, the guy gives up the fact that, yeah, he sold Jason out. They want a name. But the guy doesn't know the name. He's like, I just got a phone number. He's like, it's still on my phone. You can call it. He calls the number to the guy that he told to deliver the bomb. It was a voicemail of Julian. I was like, bro, you know what? At this point, I was like, listen. Before I was like, he really doesn't have too much of a reason to kill you. I mean, you're only a bystander. But now, I mean, yeah, you're done. You're done, Julian. You're done. And you know what? Honestly, tell you the truth, I hate to say it, but it's probably for the best, because I don't see your life going uphill at this point. Your family doesn't like you. Alexis doesn't like you. Kim pretty much left you. Nothing good is coming from you being on the show anymore. And I feel like at this point, the character that we once knew, the character that people loved, the character that I at one point thought, which, you know what, he might be the next Lorenzo Alcazar. In some ways, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Ted King was that guy. But he might have been like someone close as far as being a rival for Sonny. He was in the mob. He did have a position of power. And he wasn't sitting there kowtowing to whatever Sonny says. And now it's like, you know what? Maybe this character should just go. But yeah. So Sonny found out, and he ain't happy. And it's pretty much only a matter of time before, either somebody kills him, probably Sonny, or at the very least break his legs, or put him in a meat closet, like a meat locker for like a week or something like that. I remember that's what he used to sit there and do to AJ. Fun times. Now let's talk about, let's talk about Dante and Laura, because Dante really stepped in it. And here's the thing about Dante. 1 second. Here's the thing about Dante. So Dante's in the room, and he's talking to, Lulu, and, Laura comes in. This is after Laura's not there talking to Tracy. And Laura comes in, and Laura's like, listen, we gotta talk. And she's like, listen, we need to sit there and move her to somewhere else. That way they can sit there and give her round-the-clock care. Dante's like, oh, well, I feel like you're giving up on her. And I was like, bro, you are so wrong on so many levels. I don't even know where to begin. The fact that he said that, and I had to rewind that because I was like, let me just make sure I got that clear. He really just, okay. And she said some stuff to him or whatever after she pretty much had to defend herself for some odd reason. I don't know if she said, like, you left or whatever, yada, 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 but, she was not happy. And she talked to Nicholas. She got outside, she talked to Nicholas, and Nicholas was about to tear him a new one, which I don't blame, because my bro, and granted, he left for reasons that was, PTSD. He was afraid that he was going to hurt his wife, and it's all good and well. But don't sit there and come at Laura talking about her own mother, talking about she's giving up on her when you left for a whole year and wouldn't even sit there and bother to write or anything like that. Like, you are the last person to be saying anything to her. But towards the end, they patch things up. They talk to Patrick and Griffin because this is what we're getting now. And to be fair, I felt like Patrick, or the guy who played him, Jason Thompson, probably should have left a long time ago. because at some point he just was not needed in the storyline. When he first came to town, that was my guy. I loved that guy. He was awesome. And he had his own spinoff called The Night Shift. But anyway, he pretty much was like, yeah, we can't really do anything. Everything that they're saying is true. And yeah. So, today is probably the last day, or yesterday if you're watching this tomorrow, was the last day you're going to see probably that character and that actress that plays Lulu. So, yeah. Now back at the Quartermaines, Cook 3, because apparently this is a joke that just never dies, gave Olivia the full run of the kitchen. And she wants to do it because she feels she needs to do something important for Dante to feel useful. So while she's doing that, she's also trying to play matchmaker with Alexis, because she invited Alexis and Ned. And by the way, what was going on with his eye? I wouldn't have brought it up so much, but it really was difficult to, like, look at him without noticing. I don't know if he had red eye or something, but it just was like, it was bothering me. It was bothering me in a way where it was distracting. But anyway, Ned is pretty much shaking in his boots because Alexis is there, and he's all like, when they talk, he's like, well, what are you doing here? And, Alexis is like, well, your wife pretty much didn't want to take no for an answer, and I felt like it would have been suspicious if I kept saying no, so I'm here. So, Olivia decided to play matchmaker with Robert, who seems like he can be Alexis's dad. Try to get those two to sit there and start talking, and Alexis like, oh, my daughter's going to be in a new DA program or whatever. And then she says something along the lines of, she can quit being a DA and be a spy and come back. It was something that was like either rude or just like, where did that come from? And Robert was like, yeah, I got to go and do something else. That's literally, I think, what he said. And I don't remember what happened next, but at some point, Ned and Alexis and that they're talking, and they bring up the affair. I mean, they don't say it, but they bring up the affair, like, oh, we can't let her know about what happened, and yada, yada, yada. And Robert overhears what's going on. I'm pretty sure he said something to it. So he overheard what they were saying, and he walked up and he was like, yo, listen, Olivia's my friend. And then he pretty much threatens Ned. I was going to call him Justin for some reason. He threatens Ned, and at some point, before they really got to get into an arguing match, the oven like exploded or something like that, so they couldn't have Thanksgiving because they couldn't have the traditional turkey Thanksgiving because they never do. And you know what? Here's something I will say. At least the way that they did it this time, as far as them just not having the traditional turkey Thanksgiving, at least this was a lot better than last year, because last year was so forced, the way that Monica set that whole thing up just that way they can be fighting and stuff. It was like, never do that again. Just never do it again. So anyway, they decided to go to the hospital to support Laura. And they're all there, and they're talking and hugging, and at this point, Dante and Laura kind of just, Dante apologized, and that's when Tracy came in. So Tracy came in, and, they all hugged and everything like that, and it was a great big family moment. So let's talk about Sam and Carly. Here's the thing. At this point, Sam is like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Now, earlier when they were talking, when you had Jason and Sam there, Jason and Sonny there, You know, they were talking about Puerto Rico and stuff like that. And then when they left, you know, Carly was like, you know, this is the life that we live. You know, this is the life that we lead. This is the life that we chose. And just being very, well, this is another Tuesday for them. And Sam at some point was like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. You know? This is after Alexis walks off because she's in the compound with them. And she's like, you know what? You need to leave. At some point, you need to decide what's more important. You being in love with Jason or you being a good mother. And, you know, she makes a good point. She makes such a good point that Sam actually questions, for the first time, that I really seen her actually question being with Jason. And she talked about her time with being with Patrick and about how she didn't have to look over her shoulders and, you know, like she missed being normal. And so the whole time she's sitting there talking to Carly like, I don't know if I can do this, you know. And, you know, Carly, here's the thing, Carly wasn't sitting there trying to be like, oh, well, this is the life that you live, the life that you chose. She was just trying to be a good friend and being understanding and just being a good hearer. Now, I feel like that's actually the end of the... One second. That is not. But my thoughts about this whole Sam conflict as far as, you know, does she want to still be with Jason or not, or just questioning it, I look at it two ways. I look at it as, well, you know what, here's the thing. You already have a kid with him. Like, you're married to him. This is already a done deal, you know? Even if you somehow decide to not be with him, you honestly think that, oh, you know what? Hey, Jason is not with Sam anymore, so we don't need to talk to her. No, she's good. No, she's not with Jason, so it's fine. Like, that's not how they think. So, unless she is short of, let's say, going into witness protection, changing her hair color, changing her name and her kids' names, and just hope that no one knows who she is, that is the only way that she is getting out of that life. She can't just sit there and be like, oh, you know, I don't want to be with Jason anymore, and that's it. It's not how that works. It's just not. But at the same time, I understand where Sam is coming from. You know, it was different when it was just her, and she could just risk her life. But now she has children. And unlike Carly, who accepted the danger for her children, you know, Sam could sit there and look at Carly's life and what happened to her children and be like, you know what, I don't want that to happen to my children. So, in a lot of ways, I'm glad that she's actually questioning her relationship with Jason, because, let's be honest, after this whole explosion thing, if she didn't actually question her relationship with Jason, I would think that there's something wrong with her. And I would think that she's kind of a flawed character. At least this way, you know, I would think that there's something just off about her. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? I'm glad. And I know some people are going to be like, you know, Jason and Sam, ride or die, yada, yada, yada. I get it. I do. I've been watching this show since 2001, I think. So I understand. But with that being said, I mean, ride or die is one thing, but ride or die with your kids, that's entirely different. And I will leave it at that. Now, the last thing I want to sit there and talk about is, well, Michael and Willow, which, let's be honest, they didn't really do anything. They talked, they compared notes about, one second. They compared notes about, you know, Chase and Sasha lying to them, and that was pretty much about it. I don't remember them doing anything else that was important. Sasha wakes up after Epiphany tells her that she had a heart attack. And, you know, Sasha is all like, I don't know, I feel like she was asking some really stupid questions. She was all like, oh, I'm too young to have a heart attack, and yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I felt like that was just so naive that I was like, I don't know if I can let that pass. Because Sasha doesn't come across as a stupid girl. So I don't know why she would ask a question that dumb. But you know what? Alexis asked a question that was very similar as far as osteoporosis or whatever that thing is that I just can't remember how to pronounce it. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I might give her a pass. So at some point, Brando comes in, and Brando is like, he's just like, he's not pulling any punches. He's like, you have a problem. It starts with one, because he pretty much shares his experience with him dealing with, drugs. Yeah. So he pretty much shares his experience with, being hooked on drugs and stuff like that, and how it ruined his life, and it just starts with one, and yada, yada, yada. And at first, I felt like Sasha was just really in denial. She was like, I only use it that much. I only use it part-time. I'm not a full, drug addict. And then she tells her reasons why. And at some point, I feel like she didn't take what he was saying seriously. And to Brando, talked about Dev, and about how the son that he never really got to know died. And at that point, she started to take some of the stuff that he was saying to heart. And, because Brandon was like, listen, I need to, I need to feel useful. I need to feel like I need to help someone, because I can't help myself. I can't, I can't just sit there in my house and grieve. I need to do something. So this is when, Sasha was like, take me out for a walk a little bit. So at some point, they're walking around and they see Michael and Willow. And of course, she was sitting there talking before to Brando about how that's pretty much how the whole drug thing started. Was the really bad breakup that she had with Michael and yada yada yada. So when she sees them, she's like, this would be me. This would be me around this time. It would be you around this time, and it might have still been you around this time if you would have just been honest. But that's not how you decide you want to do it, because you want to, say you want to play God, and just a bunch of really bad, dumb excuses of why you didn't sit there and tell Michael the truth after, she died. After Nell died. And I think that was pretty much about it. Yes, that's actually about it. I want to make sure I cover all my bases. Um, Lulu or the actress leaving, I know that there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to be happy. Listen, I watched this show when they had the actress Julia, whatever her name is, Julia Bean or something with a B. And so I felt like that was the best Lulu that they had. And not saying that this woman was bad, but here's the thing, when it came towards dramatic scenes, like the yelling or the screaming or anything being scared or whatever, I felt like her acting as far as dramatic scenes was like soap opera level. Where it was like it just passed. But outside of that, it was like, I wasn't, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't in love with the actress, so, I didn't hate her either. She did a decent job as far as being Lulu, and she grew into her own character, and I'll leave it at that. But I felt like it just was never the same since Julia left. And we got this other woman that was like, alright, I guess you do a serviceable job, so cool. I feel like they're going to keep her on ice until they find a good Lulu. And I hope that, because I don't want them to just throw in a character that no one likes and they got to get rid of her like they did when they had to do with Carly. And I'm not going to sit there and say the names that people were calling this woman. And you know the Carly I'm talking about, because she was probably the worst Carly that they've had on this show. So hopefully whatever they pick right. And, yeah. I I feel like they're gonna know what to do with Dante. I mean, I know he doesn't have a love interest right now, but I feel like the whole thing about taking Peter down, they're gonna give him something to do, and it's gonna be great. And I think my last thing I'm gonna sit there and say is, I was wondering what the other Brooklyn looked like before the other one replaced her. I was like, why? I actually forgot what she looked like because she wasn't on there for that long. But maybe hopefully they bring back Brooklyn because they're gonna have this whole baby storyline. I think that's gonna go on. So anyway, with that being said, I have rambled long enough. Thank you for watching. For the people who did watch, Mondays are usually my late days, and then throughout the week is business as usual. Also, if you could share this video. I don't like to sit there and demand people to share it, but if you could share it. It really does help. I do want to get to a point where I'm doing this and I'm making money off of it, enough money where I can do this more and my other job less. So sharing it definitely does help. And yeah, with that being said, I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you thought of this episode. Julian's days are numbered.